Okay, you are good to go.
All right, so shall we begin?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, as is usual, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the May meeting. We still have several people who may appear up on your screen, but we'd certainly appreciate everybody coming. We got a number of visitors today from two groups. We also have ACC planning staff here. Rick's here. And I guess Stephen may also be coming. Hey, Rick, I don't know. But then we have Abe, and we also have Mr. Brantley Colbert is supposed to be coming from the Hilltop proposal. And then we've got Katie, and we've got Matt. Who else have we got? I'm looking. We also might have April and Lauren come from the Whataburger proposal. So we certainly appreciate all of the people who are visiting today, coming and talking with us. I think there's always learning on both sides that can be done. It's going to be kind of a long meeting, so I'd just like to ask you what Davin has already suggested in his emails, if we can keep our comments short and concise. We've got a lot of agenda items to get through, but we certainly appreciate having the chance to talk with you and learn or, provide learning on both sides. So we also need to leave a little bit of time, for questions. If you have questions for Mike as director or us as a group, and if we have a question or two in reverse, we need some time for that. So I guess we can begin. Mike, I think as director, if you want to just say a couple of words, and then we'll ask Rick, and then we can start.
Sure. So, so planning had come to me, and they had asked for us to review two proposals. One was housing, Hilltop Road and Briarcliff Lane, and then the other was Whataburger, 3321 and 3331 Lexington Road. And planning had asked us to present it, if we would, present it to the authority, the airport authority, for your recommendation, one way or the other. We did meet, we did meet with David Asman, authority member and chair of the operations committee, which also included Craig and Robert, and I was in attendance, and so was Diane as well in attendance. So from there, I'll let Rick talk a little bit if he wants to talk.
Okay, well, thank you for allowing us to participate in today's meeting. Stephen is here. He's in the red shirt. You can see him there. So this Stephen's just here listening in. This is his first month with us. We're very fortunate to have him he came over from the regional commission. So we have two cases before you. One is a rezoning, which we don't have any specific criteria for the airport in that one, but our ordinance does say that we will run any increase in density, residential density, as a zoning request by you for your opinion on that. And then we do have a special use actually a special use amendment for the Lowe's shopping center, going from what is now, the binding plan shows a couple retail stores, and they want to change that to a drive-through restaurant. So that one is a special use where we have specific airport criteria in the staff report that we need you guys to fill in the blanks there. We left a few items there. We did a review through zoning for zoning reasons, but we left the airport criteria vacant so you guys could fill those in. The effect on the airport from having the drive-through restaurant and the effect on the drive-through restaurant for being in the airport zone. And so just want to get your opinions on both of these proposals. They're both, like I say, a little different in how you address them, but and I don't know whether we want to take this, I guess, one by one. I don't know if you have one on the agenda that's first, or
No, I put them sort of together, whichever you want. We can do
Okay.
The Whataburger one first, if you want. It was on the agenda in the sentence first. It doesn't make any difference. But you want
Okay,
to-
well, for us, again, we if you want to start with the Whataburger, we did, again, our zoning review. We have our own criteria that we go by. The big things for us are zoning items, really, they meet a lot of the technical requirements for, public utilities, public works, fire marshal. The only two major concerns aren't really airport concerns or just zoning. We'd like to get a primary orientation towards the street for all of our new buildings. In this case, they're orienting the main entrance back towards Lowe's. And then also we try to get some fenestration, a good window percentage up on the road frontage. In this case, that's the drive-through lane, kitchens behind it. So they're not able to provide a lot of windows. By the way, they've organized, the inside layout. So, so we have a couple zoning concerns, but other than that, again, and that one's just to hear basically what you guys think about it. The height, they have some elevations, but obviously a one-story restaurant, no taller than your usual one-story restaurant. We'd have the typical conditions of non-reflective roofing, shielded lighting, those type things. So no wet detention ponds. So we'll have the typical airport conditions as usual. And it's just a matter of if you see anything that would cause concern for airplanes flying overhead or anything of concern that might affect the proposed use from airport operations. So, but that's all we have to say on that one.
Okay. Well, Katie, is that you, I see? Who's the representative here from Whataburger?
Yes, I am representing Whataburger.
Okay, you are down there.
Lauren,
Yeah,
I'm Lauren Harley.
if
I'm
you
with
want to
Whataburger.
add some thoughts, and Laura, you're here. Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, our engineer Matt can't get the WebEx to work. He's only able to see it on YouTube. He can't join the WebEx.
Ah.
He's having technical difficulties. Sorry, we're gonna have to pinch hit for him.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, if you two want to, add some comments from the side of your side, from the proposer's side, before we move forward, that would help.
Yeah, I don't mind speaking, or Lauren, if you would prefer.
Go ahead, Katie. You're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a one-story, 3,700 square foot restaurant. We're not very tall. In fact, I think the Walgreens and Lowe's are taller than we are. So, it's really nothing out of the ordinary in terms of the airport authority. We have 2 drive-through lanes. I don't think there's anything reflective on the building that would affect the airport. I don't have much more. You kind of covered everything unless you have some specific questions.
Okay. Well, Mike and members of the authority, I guess, if you have questions or comments, this would be the time. Mike?
I don't. David being the chairman of the committee, he might want to speak to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hello everybody. Sorry, I'm not on video today. The operations. This is David Asman speaking. The operations committee met a week ago, or I guess 2 Fridays ago, to discuss both of these proposals, and specific to this Whataburger development. There was no opposition that we could come up with. I want to thank Rick and the rest of the planning departments immensely for helping with the redraft of the zoning ordinance to make these a little more seamless for us to go through. And we have. There's no matter about this proposal that we would have any objection to as far as the airport authority goes. So if it's all right with the rest of the authority, I'd like to go ahead with a motion.
Please proceed.
All right. So I move for the airport authority to recommend approval of the proposed development at 3331 Lexington Road in accordance with the plans as they were presented to the airport staff and the airport authority.
Okay, if that's a motion, we need a second, please.
A second.
Carrie, Craig, to second. Before we vote, it's not anything that's contrary to the motion. I'm just interested in, and I think it came up, even Rick mentioned that, you know, we were interested or curious as to the orientation or the choice of orientation rather than fronting directly onto the main road. Why are you choosing to orient, you know, the restaurant sideways? It's just a curious question.
It has to do with traffic flow, truck flow, where some other easements, sewer easements, and other easements are located on the property.
Mhm.
Seem to move. It worked the best for how we run our business at this point,
Okay.
and we're working with Athens-Clarke County to work through sort of the anomalies to the code there to make sure they're happy. But this was step one in that process.
Okay. Right. Well, any other comments or questions before we vote on that motion? All right. Well, all in favor of the motion as stated by David Assman, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Abstain? None? Okay. Thank you. That motion will carry, and Davin will make a note of that in the minutes. So, well, we certainly appreciate you coming and talking to us, you know. I think there's always something to learn. So we really do appreciate it. And I think it's good to work collaboratively like this. So we'll follow the progress of this with interest, and we hope to hear from you again. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it as well.
You're very welcome. Okay. So without any further ado, we can move to the other proposal then. Abe, I don't know if your colleague, I haven't actually seen Mr. Colbert, if he's here. So perhaps you might want to comment, or Rick, do you want to say a few words about it first? Why don't we do that? Yeah, Rick.
Okay, well, this, as I mentioned, this is a request for higher density zoning. It's currently like RS15, and they're asking for RS5. The plan you received is considered conceptual. It's not a binding plan. It's just a possible layout of the lots. We did have some zoning and other technical issues that needs to be addressed, but that is conceptual. But the basic idea is to have more density. You know, obviously a lot more density. We recently did away with the 1 acre minimum in the airport overlay, which I think went from 2 to 4 lots, if I remember this staff report right. And they're asking for several more, about 11 or so. You know, it's a big increase. And so we do have, again, some zoning concerns. And we need you guys to comment on if you have any concerns for the extra density in the airport overlay. So is it going to affect airport operations? Will airport operations affect the new residents of this area? It is in the approach zone. You know, so
it's not easy.
So just want to make that clear, and I'll let Abe carry on from there then.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Abe?
Madam Chair, good afternoon to all of the board members. Good to see you all. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I tried, but for some reason the camera won't work. But we appreciate allowing us to be before you this afternoon. So to speak a little bit about, and in a brief way, this is a residential project that we feel the need for residential units, especially for affordable housing, which will be a component of this. So the density that Mr. Cowick referring to is 11 lots. Most of the lots are 9,000 square foot or so. So they're closer really to the RS10. All of the houses will be standard homes, 1.5 story to 2 story max, which smaller or shorter than the trees that are on the property currently. So we are looking at working on the plan with the planning as far as the zoning concern, and most likelihood we will be in a lesser density. So we didn't mean for it to be, we're not asking for S blanket zoning. And I think that's probably how it was portrayed or reviewed. I know there were some concern about the garage apartments, which we will be removing those. So we're looking most likely at a density lesser than we have submitted, maybe around 8 lots with no garage apartments. And that's really more closer to the area, perhaps a slight increase from the density in the surrounding area. You've got 10,000 square foot lots in the area now. You got 15,000 and higher. So we want to try to fit in a little closer with that. And I believe the report said it wasn't a transitional zone, Mr. Cowick. I don't know if that's, it was in a TZ zone, not the approach. According to the report, unless something I'm not mistaken at right there. So Madam Chair and the board, we'll be glad to answer any questions. I mean, the real reason is there is a great need for residential lots in that area. And while it may seem we were trying to ask for a blanket RS5, that's not the intent, and it will be changed to specific number of lots. We could put a maximum of 8 or so lots, and that's it. We're not looking to go through, submit an RS5 concept, and end up with 15, 16 lots. So we're more than happy to condition that to no more than 8 lots and without any garage apartments. So none of the structures, like I said, will be higher than your standard maximum height of a residential building, 1.5 to 2 story high. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Thanks very much, Abe. Rick or Mike, do you want to clarify that issue of which zone it is in? Because
Maybe.
Abe just said he thinks it's in, what did you say, the transition zone?
Easy.
It's in the, I have to look. It's in the approach. Isn't that right, David?
I think it's transition zone, and it's the AZ2, if I'm not mistaken. The non-precision approach,
To runway
zones.
2.
Yeah,
to
runway 2. So
Yeah.
so that's not the same as if it were on either side of 927. That's a lower grade, if you will, of approach zone. But I believe it is within, if not potentially, if it's not, it's because it's underneath the AZ2 area. And I'm not looking at the map right now, but I think that's accurate. While I'm bending your ears, we did meet same time to discuss this property too. It is, I'd say, probably about half a mile south of the approach end of runway 2, a block or 2 west of Gaines School Road, and while the density in that area, is there's quite a bit of residential in that area, and the developer here is going through some issues with the county on density and changing the zoning. As far as our concerns as an airport go, that 2 and change acre lot is not a usable plot of land for emergency use by any aircraft, whether there's 0 houses on it or 8 houses, as Abe just mentioned he may be looking to put on there. Being reasonable and rational, that's why we went through the legwork to rewrite these plans, these planning ordinances. From the airport's perspective, this type of development doesn't stand out from the neighboring developments. So, with that in mind, the operations committee, when we met, we determined again, similarly, that we had no objection to this development proceeding. So, you know, with that mindset in mind, I have a motion to make, but obviously if we need to take further questions, I kind of jumped in with everything quickly. But if anybody else has any questions, by all means speak up.
Yeah, before we go to a motion, it doesn't have any bearing on, you know, it wouldn't detract from our support of the proposal, Abe. But last week when we met, one thing that did crop up in discussion was a sort of related question, and that is, are these houses going to be rentals? Are they going to be for sale and therefore private residence, privately owned, or what?
I think there will be a mixture, some for rental, some for sale.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know, the question that sort of came up, and it's a curiosity, and that is, on, say, a rental agreement, let's assume you go ahead and you build X number of residences, and then there's a rental agreement for tenants who might rent a given house. Is there a statement in such a rental agreement for the tenant to actually sign their awareness of their proximity to the airport, and therefore, you know, the possibility of noise and a certain measure of risk, even if it's, you know, modest? There was a time when that sort of thing used to be in agreements, and we just wondered about that. If that's not something that will be in there, or even in a, you know, contract for sale.
Madam Chair, definitely there will be an agreement, part of the closing documents, that they are made aware that they are in a transitional zone of an airport overlay. There are certain risks involved in that, even though we're on the secondary, much smaller runway and not on the main one, but they will be aware, because that is something the owner would want to cover themselves from liability, that they have informed any buyer or renter for that property. There will be
Noise too, you know, that there'd be noise, because, you know.
in noise, of course, risk of noise and so being in the airport zone. Yes, sir.
And to those points, that's also written into the ordinance that would convey with that would all convey with any deed on the property. So thank you, Rick, for having that in there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, any other questions or comments from members of the authority or Mike?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think we had a good discussion, and really much of what we discussed has just been reiterated and confirmed today. So, David, if you can articulate a motion for this one, that would be good.
Thank you, Dan. I move for the airport authority to recommend approval of the proposed development at Briar Cliff and Hilltop, in accordance with the plans as they were presented to the airport staff and airport authority.
Okay, and we would need a second on that, please, from a member of the authority. Robert, to second. Okay. Questions? Last questions, comments? Rick?
I just wanted to confirm, it looks like on our zoning map, we're showing AZ3. So that's our official zoning map.
AZ3. That sounds more right. Thank you.
Okay, just want to get that clear.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't have
I
that
knew.
in front of me either.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't looking at it, but I knew that it was not the right, the 927 approach zones for 927 are the higher tiered approach zones.
So we will correct our staff report. Sorry about the error there.
So that AZ3, is that transition zone above ground and above the actual structures where they'd be, or is it on the ground? I mean, that's one of the things I've learned is some of these zones actually go up in a wedge shape. I've learned that from you, Mike. So where is this one? Is it actually literally on the ground, but it's still of secondary risk factor?
No, this one in the approach, it does climb. So it's, I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. What it is it 30 to 1, something like that? I think that one might be. I can't remember, but on the approach.
It does climb quickly on that secondary. 30 to 1.
All right, hearing no other questions, let's have a vote on that motion, please. All in favor of supporting that motion as voiced by David? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Anybody? No? Abstain? All right, well, that motion carries as well. And so I'd just like to say thank you again, Abe, for coming to our meeting, and you, Rick, as well, and Stephen. I think it's really very helpful. You know, even if we've discussed all these points, it's some insights always can come out of these kinds of discussions and learning. So we do appreciate you taking the time to join us. And then, you know, our recommendations and the, you know, the substance will be forthcoming when Mike sends in the report.
Okay, well, thank you for the invitation.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may say, I love the accent. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. You have a good day, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you kindly. Appreciate it.
Okay. Let's just see who we've got. All right. Guess this is back to the nuclear family now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any other closing comments on that before we move on to the next agenda, which is back to our mundane business?
No, I'm good.
You know, personally, I just think it's a good thing if so many of them were willing to come. And even if it's just to reiterate what we had already discussed, a couple of the other authority members, you know, Grant, Keith can't be here, but he's going to be watching this, so he'll also derive the benefit from it. I think it's a good thing to have that amount of interest. It just kept me and Davin hopping all morning because the names kept popping up. Oh, somebody else. So.
Yeah, I was expecting a party, a bigger party.
Sorry, I've only got orange juice.
Well, I appreciate the efficiency of this WebEx meeting with that. Can you imagine coming in and out of the airport and going and coming? So this is good.
Yeah, well, it has its benefits, you know, much
Yes,
as
it
we
does.
hate to admit it. You know, they have their benefits, these WebEx meetings. So procedurally, then you've got what you need, Mike, for the staff report. You and Davin.
We do. Thank you very much.
So I don't know when their next proposals will come to us, but you know, I think from now on we've got a good model we're following.
Yeah, and I haven't heard of any others coming down the line. So,
Yeah.
so right now we're good with these.
All right. Well, we'll put that one on the other end of the desk. So, back to mundane business and catch up. You will recall, because we didn't have a quorum last time, we couldn't do the minutes. So we've got 2 months of minutes to actually approve. We've got March's minutes and April. And so you should have both of those. They've been sent out to you. And if we can turn to those, let's look at the March minutes first. We'll need probably a vote on each of them. David did such a good job. They're easy for me to edit and proof. There's not much to do on them. So, thank you again, Davin. Any comments, questions, corrections on the March minutes? All right. Count to 5. Hearing none. Would somebody like to move that we actually approve the March minutes as is?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Craig, second? Robert.
Second.
Thank you, Robert. All right, all in favor of approving the March minutes as is? Approved, formatted and approved. Okay, thank you. Against, anybody? Abstain? No. All right, thank you. Approved unanimously. All right, turn to the April minutes if you would, please. Devin again did a really thorough job, so you have quite detailed minutes there. I hope you had a chance to look at them. Any questions or comments, corrections on those? Okay. There were some tricky bits in that in terms of discussions and things, so we tried to articulate as best we could an accurate record of you know, that meeting. So All right, motion to approve as is, as written.
So moved.
Okay, Robert, and second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving them as is? Okay. Any against? No, abstentions? No, okay. There you have it. Thank you on that one. All right, moving right along. Where do we go next? We go to Mike and all of his reports. And Mike will let you go through all of them. You know that you didn't get the financials in the materials that Devin sent because we met a week early, so they're still coming. And perhaps you can forward those to us when you get them.
We will. We'll forward those on. And then if you have any questions about those prior to our next meeting, just let us know.
Okay.
So yes, so no financials. Let's see, going on to the capital projects. I've got some information to share. So the Taxaway Alpha project, Chris with Holt has finished the redesign. He sent that out, and he's working to get a meeting set up with Astra so that we can go over the new design on that. Is there anything you want to add, Chris, to that?
No, that we just to go over those revisions and then try to get a date set for construction again, so that we can get that project moving forward again.
Yeah. I was just listening to the radio, the air traffic control. One of the pilots leaving said, "So when is the project going to be done? 2030?" So he said, "No, it'll be sooner than now." But yeah, we'll kick that one off again, thank goodness, and get that done. And then 2020 220, that is going in front of the mayor and commissioner for their agenda meeting today. The construction phase services will be on that, along with a grant approval not to exceed, so that we'll have that in our back pocket when we do get the grant. And so I'm hoping that all of that goes well tonight. I'm supposed to be online with them, and answer questions if they have any. I think that starts at 6 tonight. The localizer, getting close to closing that out. I think Chris said he's working on some closeout documents, and then we'll have to do a flight check, and then we'll be through with that project. And then so, we've got a lot of projects going on. We'll just keep on keeping on and hope to get some things moving again, especially the Taxaway Alpha project. As far as marketing and outreach activities, I don't have anything to report. And then Davin on the Clear Point, I don't want to talk for him. You have anything on that?
No, there's nothing to report there at this point in time.
Okay. So that's all I have.
All right, and Mike, actually, when you and I spoke, I think you said that you would probably want to mention the issue of the accident when you gave your
Yeah, right. Sure, I can do that now. So we did have an accident here last week. It's unfortunate. It was a Piper, a single engine Piper that was coming in from the Carolinas. My understanding was that he just bought the airplane, and he was about a quarter of a mile east of the airport and had some engine trouble, and then went down in a thick wooded area just east of the airport. He was attempting to land on runway 27, and of course he perished in the accident. The FAA came out the next day to investigate, and then they only stayed one day, and so I don't know the true outcome, and I'm not going to speculate, but we'll just have to wait and see what happened. But it was unfortunate. I will say that I was called probably 15 minutes afterwards, after it happened, and they were already on the scene, our folks, you know, with our ARF truck. The local response was good. I mean, it was great. The fire and police, everybody trying to get to the site, you know, it was a challenge, being way back there, and there's no real trails back there as well. They had to kind of make their way through there. So they did a good job, and I was really proud of everybody for what they did, you know, and getting to the scene and doing what they could. But yeah, it was definitely unfortunate, and I hated that it happened.
I actually had asked Mike, in terms of reporting, you know, where the boundary is. When does an accident count in the annual report? If we have to update the annual report, you know, is this going to be accidents in 2022 1, like last year and the years before? The number was 0. And so, Mike, I just found that interesting. You might want to comment on that.
Yeah, it was my thought too, because you know we work hard to make sure our airport's safe and secure. This was off airport property, so I mean, in my book, I wouldn't count it because it wasn't on airport. Um, but and it wasn't at fault, any fault of ours, so I definitely wouldn't count it. But regardless, you know, it's something you don't want to see.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments or thoughts, questions for Mike on any of his reports? Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. We'll look for those financials in due course when they come.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, we're moving forward quite well. Let's go to the old business, and actually our colleague Robert is up for his monthly update on the school district and development,
Yes.
if any, other than your persistence and dedication to the task.
Correct. It continues to be the same report as far as contact and communication about the availability as the school year winds down. I believe they have another week, and they are really staying the course or not having the opportunity to get out as much as they would in a normal year. But what constitutes a normal year is yet to be seen. So I continue to stand steadfast and ready to continue to communicate with the school district. Now, that's my next stopping point, to say within the school district again, to remind them of it, because I have made contact with principals and everything. So I'm going back to the school district to remind them, as they then plan for next year, what can be on their agenda as far as a proposed site for a visit here locally. So that's what I'd like to report to everyone.
Well, thank you, Robert. I think that's all you can do, isn't it? Just keep it going,
Yes,
keep it alive. You know?
yes, just keep the name out there.
Yeah. So any comments or questions for Robert on that? Well, thanks again, Robert. We do appreciate it, you know.
Yes, you're
You
welcome.
fall off the radar over the summer, we know. So,
Right.
yeah. Well, speaking of falling off the radar, on the next item, I do have a Lexington Highway corridor update. You know, it's been several months where there was just no update. And I had feared that, you know, my role on the user group or some projects had fallen off the radar. So anyway, I did send you the email that Derek Doster sent us as a group with an update on the preliminary plans that have been actually put together now for all the sidewalk projects. And I know Davin sent that out to you. And that email actually also contained a link to a PDF proposal that Derek presented to the mayor and commission last week. And so you can look at that. That is a working link. If you can't actually get it to work on your system, I can send you the PDF. But you know, what they've been doing, you know, in the last months is a lot of data gathering and also drawing up these preliminary plans. And at first face, what you see is that, you know, it's all the sidewalk plans are well underway in great detail, visual and verbal. And so, in all honesty, I did get a bit despondent. I thought, well, what happened to, project number 7, the airport entrance? So I actually did call Derek Doster for a direct update. And he said, well, you know, it's kind of buried in there because actually what they've done is they've subsumed it under the intersection improvements. So if you look at that presentation of all the plans and the next steps, our goal or desire in that project number 7 for having an entrance on Lexington is not dead, it's still there. It's in one of the intersection improvements. You know, there's a huge development they've actually started on Lexington, but Trinitas is the developer. They're already bulldozing. When you go down Lexington towards town, there's a Devon storage place on your right, and on the left there was a big patch of woods. Most of those trees are gone. There's a huge bulldozing session going on there. That development, you may remember that actual proposal did come to us some months ago, but they are being required to put in a 4-way traffic light. And what Derek confirmed is that the 4th part of that 4-way traffic light is for a new entrance to the airport. And so if you look at the timeline, there's a timeline at the end of that presentation. That's the main focus right now. That huge development is going to be 2 years in the making before it's completed. But Derek said that for the ACC planning department and other departments involved in this, after the summer, they're going to start going about investigating and purchasing ground or securing the right of way and working on that. So in a nutshell, our entrance to the airport from Lexington is not dead. It's still there. It's in the intersection improvements. So I was really thrilled to report that and to share that with Mike. I mean, that's the best news I've heard all month, if not for months on end.
Yeah, that was good news.
And so, we're looking at after summer and into 2023 to be on the alert there and basically make sure we stay in touch with them about it. And so it's not dead. There is, in May and June now, up to the end of June, there's a public input period on all of these proposals. And you'll see that in the update as well. They always have to have a period of public input for comment on them. So right now they are, they've budgeted and are spending $2 million of the TEAS Plus 2018 money. Most of it's going on the sidewalks, and I don't object to that at all. It's really needed. A lot of those sidewalk areas where there was no sidewalk actually really were dangerous. People were trying to wait for a bus, walking across ditches and in mud and in long grass. It actually wasn't funny. So I'm just pleased to know that, among those intersection improvements, the other 2 are Gaines School Road and Whit Davis. Our airport entrance is alive and well and waiting. So.
And I will add to that they told me that it will have a 4-way red light.
Yeah,
which would be good for us on our side, and that'll get us to on the Lexington side. That'll get us to that area where we were going to build the commercial terminal, and then as we want to grow that as well. So that's good news that we have access to that and can get in that area now once that's done.
And there was a lot of objection to that huge development, but actually this is the silver lining, that what came out of it is the 4-way traffic light that they're obliged to put in, and they'll also have to put sidewalks in at the intersection, and we benefit from it because that's how this entrance project has actually survived.
Yeah.
So good news.
Oh.
Okay, any thoughts? Do you agree it's good news? All say aye, please.
I will make a comment and say I agree it's good news. And within that area, as I travel back and forth with all of that construction that the DOT is doing there, it looks like the east side is busy and prospering.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and they're going to be putting sidewalks in up to Johnson Drive, that DOT project, So, I mean, there is progress being made. But that airport entrance project has been dropped so many times, that it is good news it's still alive. We need to keep it alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Under old business, the other thing that we did have on the agenda was just a brief update from Mike on whatever happened to the landmark properties proposal and issue, case in point.
Yeah. So this old business will probably tag team into the new business, really.
Yeah.
It's very much related. So the landmark property hangar lease that we that I had presented to the authority two meetings ago, I believe, was basically because they were interested at that time to increase the lease term, or the time rather, on that lease. I think another 16 years is what they wanted on top of what they've got now. So that has been since dropped. They no longer are interested in extending the lease, and because of that, most of it was just taken was handled internally with the lawyers, because the current lease, ground lease, is an assumable lease. So what it took was just the sale, and then the two lawyers on both sides, the purchaser and the seller, and then ultimately the mayor to sign it. And then that was that. So it's all said and done. No more to be done on that. Again, they're not interested right now in any extension. So it's all good. Happy that they got it. They've got 3 really good aircraft in there that bring a lot of property tax to Athens-Clarke County. We get a lot of fuel sales from them. And so we're excited that they got the hangar. You know, a lot of times when you have a sale like that and it's an assumable lease, you're kind of scared. You don't know who's going to get it, and who they're going to sell it to. You know, that's happened in the past, but we don't want that anymore. And we're going to make sure that in the future that doesn't happen. But for now, we're in good shape.
Okay, any comments or questions for Mike on that? Okay. I think it, you remember it became very sort of tense for a while there. And, we all had lots of questions and comments. We all got really embroiled in it. And I remember I expressed concern about what we really are or aren't allowed to do in terms of getting deeply involved in the wording in leases. Craig, I remember you said we have to make sure that we protect ourselves, when there's an issue of liability. What this case did, the land case, turned out. Sorry, I'm hearing somebody. Crossed wires. Okay. I think it was a fortuitous event, because basically what it did was bring back into focus the need for us to go back to our bylaws and say, well, what are we really allowed to do? What are we authorized to do or not do? When I first joined the authority, I did raise the issue with the past chair that Article 1, if you look at it, is very vague. And it leaves us sort of wide open, that if we were to take it literally, it looks like, we in some cases have got less power than we do, or if we read it wrong, we might think we've got far more than we do. So actually, I sent you a list of key words that really are the sort of summary of the enabling legislation at the state level. The rationale for doing that is I just think that everybody on the authority, including new people, ought to know the sort of legislative origins of the airport authority, or an airport authority, including this one. And if you look at that list, and then if you go into the full text, it is so long and laborious, it's hard to get a grip on it. But the state of Georgia actually granted sweeping powers to the airport authority. If you look at them, and some authorities have those powers, but we don't. And at one point in all the anxiety and drama over Landmark, I had wondered whether we shouldn't really, request of the attorney's office to nail down the document where it actually itemizes what our powers are, because it's become buried in the archives somewhere. Nobody knows where it is. We don't have it. Mike doesn't have it. Jean Spratlin never found it when I asked her for it. And then I realized, this is stupid, because basically we don't have any of those powers. And so we have to really sort of go back to our own bylaws, which only contain one statement, that we shouldn't be involved in leases, contracts, and, quote, other obligations, whatever that means. It's not detailed enough. And then secondly, that RACI chart that I sent you, which became appended to the bylaws, we can't rely on as an authoritative source. There are no references in it. There were errors in it. It needs to be updated if it were to be used. There's some things that shouldn't even be in there because they don't pertain. it was not put together as an authoritative yardstick for what our powers are. So, you know, in a nutshell, the landmark thing highlighted for me, and I think for all of us, that what is needed is we do need to go back to the bylaws, Article 1, authorization, and clarify exactly what our powers are or aren't. And we need to actually remove that racy chart from being attached to the bylaws. So this is just really an FYI update for you. I think when Keith and I and others turn our attention to updating the strategic plan later in the year, it would probably be the time to do this. But I think, you know, we are an advisory or recommending body only, the beginning and the end of the day. We do not have our own police force or firefighting emergency services. We do not pay salaries, on and on. It's an amusing list if you've never looked at it, you know. Mike, you told me that, where did you say Peachtree City actually does have all these powers and does operate like this?
Yeah, there's several airports in the state that do. Peachtree City's one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's several of them
Yeah.
that control their airport.
Yeah. So, you know, that doesn't leave us helpless. Look what we've just done with the planning department, which is interesting because that wherewithal to make recommendations and so on to them doesn't feature in this long list. So it obviously materialized at the county or, you know, at the local level in Clarke, somewhere back in history too. But we're firm on that. And in practice, you know, we're on firm ground doing that. So in a nutshell, you know, back to the drawing board on that Article 1 to make it a lot less vague and therefore dangerous, and not be operating on with moving goalposts. I think, you know, if we just stick with the conclusion that we are an advisory recommending body only, that's where we are. That's in reality what we are. So I just wanted to share that with you. And obviously it's important, you know, as new members join the authority, that they also, you know, come to understand the origins of the authority and also this issue of how all those powers, they were removed from this authority. It's not really a proper operating authority with lots of ammunition like that. So I would suggest, in the interest of time, we just leave it at that. I'll be coming back to all of you when we turn to actually updating the bylaws again. So any thoughts on that? Okay, so, well, believe it or not, where are we up to? Standing committee issues. Keith is in Savannah. He sent his apologies, and he couldn't actually make a WebEx call from there, so he'll be watching online. So he doesn't have an update or report on that. David, I don't know if you have additional update or report for the committee. We've already heard you on the
nothing additional.
Okay, thank you. And then Grant, on air service development and marketing, you and or Mike?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything, Mike.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else? Any other business?
I just want to say thank you for making this change a week early. You know, Davin and I will be going to the conference. Peter and Chris and Jim will be there too. So, you know, it's an important conference for all of us to get together and learn from each other. So I do appreciate you changing the schedule around so we could make that.
Where's the conference, Mike?
It's going to be at Lake Lanier.
Oh, okay. And what conference is it?
It's the American General Aviation Georgia General Aviation Association. I'm sorry,
okay.
Association of it's AGGAA. I'm still learning it. It's the Association of Georgia General Aviation Airports.
All right.
There you go.
That
If I had it in front of me, which I have it close by somewhere, I'd let you know, but that's what it is.
Oh, it was our pleasure. I think it worked out well, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess it also helped the planning department. You know, we got them out, or we will get them our feedback again in stages early.
Yeah, Davin will get that typed up, and I know they want it probably this week for their planning commission, I believe.
Yeah. So David, I just for my files, if you can also let me have a copy of that on the planning proposals. Okay. So, and then the next meeting will be on the 28th of June.
Mhm.
So that will be quite a long time between now and then.
Yeah. And again, we'll send the financials out to everybody.
Yeah.
Or to.
So in the meantime, I won't guarantee you won't hear from me, but right now, you know, we certainly will meet then and look forward to seeing you then. So without further ado, if we can have a motion to adjourn. Gee, we made it before
So
4.
moved.
Robert?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
League? All right. All in favor of calling it quits for the day on this?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all. And you and Devin have a good, visit. Behave yourselves.
Oh yeah, we will. Oh,
That
Chris
goes
Peters.
without saying. Goes without saying.
Be safe.
All
Yes.
Be safe is better. Is the better admonition.
Yeah, be safe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I do appreciate it. I know that looked like a pile of handouts and everything. No, we might never have gotten through all of it, but I do thank you for your diligence and support in getting through all of that. Okay.
Thank you guys and gals. Thank you very much.
Thank you.